The Gulf Coast Growth Show is sponsored by Chevron Pasadena Refinery and is an extension of the Economic Alliance Houston Port Region, where our mission is to market and grow a vibrant regional economy. Hey guys, welcome back to the Gulf Coast Growth Show. I'm your host, Jason Lee, joined by my co-host, Zeke Smith. Zeke, great to see you today.
You too, buddy. What's up?
And Miss Amy Skicki, she's the Executive Director of Bay Area Houston Transportation Partnership, better known as
Baytran.
Baytran.
Yeah.
And we're glad to have you today. And this is actually a special week for us. We are doing a twofer this week with veterans and women. So we're excited to have that today. Couldn't be more thankful. With Amy having spent her time we had a Marine on our previous show, and now we have a young lady from the Army. And so we're excited to have you joining us. Amy, we're going to talk a little bit about Baytran, their background, some of the great things that you guys are doing, and then also you're going to share a little bit about your story in the military and then maybe how that helped translate to the things that you're doing today, some of the things you picked up along the way. So let's start with Baytran. Tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing, who you are, what you do.
Yeah, so we are, like you said, the Bay Area Houston Transportation Partnership. Our area of service has traditionally been Brazoria County, Galveston County, and the southeast portion of Harris County to encompass the Ship Channel region, which is why we're such great partners with the Economic Alliance Houston Port region. And our mission is to enhance regional mobility by advocating for improved infrastructure and air quality, reducing traffic congestion, and cultivating relationships with communities, business leaders, and elected or appointed officials that result in positive transportation solutions.
Oh, that's all?
That's it.
Okay.
Just a little.
Fantastic mission.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It seems really like a lot, but when you kind of dial it down, and that last part that I underline that you all see, and cultivating relationships with communities, business leaders, and elected or appointed officials that result in positive transportation solutions, I've learned since I started this job that is the most important part of my job.
Okay.
Is those relationships and making sure those transportation projects cross municipalities, city lines. They don't know boundaries. So we have to be able to get those mayors and leaders in rooms together to talk about, the best way to build these projects that is going to improve mobility for our region and what's necessary and not necessary for our region. So, and that takes time to build relationships. I think you know that in your line of work, Jason. And I'm starting year 3 here with Baytran and feel stronger than ever as far as those relationships and partnerships go. So it's been a good couple years, and we do these things by promoting goodwill between the communities, businesses, and industries that share transportation infrastructure and mobility interests. So bringing them together at our luncheons to talk about common topics for our region. Supporting current and future transportation and infrastructure projects in Bay Area region. We've been to the DC to advocate for the Coastal Texas program, which is the largest project in the history of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. It is a $34 billion project.
Wow.
The actual operating budget of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers across the nation is $6 million a year. This project alone is $34.3 billion. So it's a huge need. It's formerly known as the Ike Dike.
Right. The Ike Dike. Okay.
Coastal barrier, coastal spine.
So just help me understand that. Why would someone like you, right, who's in Baytran, be involved with something that's out on the water that they're trying to do?
Correct.
Yeah. So to help us understand the relationship there.
Yeah. So maritime industry uses the water for transportation, right? Mm-hmm. This project is going to potentially, it has gates that will close at the mouth of Galveston Bay to prevent a storm surge coming up the Ship Channel. So we're advocating for this because it's going to protect infrastructure on the other side of the water.
Right, there you go.
But also to make sure that it's built right, that it doesn't restrict any access to the ship channel because we need to make sure that those gates, however they're built, however they're designed, are done the right way because the commerce that comes in and out of that ship channel is important to this country and this nation.
Yeah.
Not only just for us to get our wonderful Amazon things delivered to our front doors, but think about national security. The Port of Beaumont, which is just next to us, is the largest military shipping port in the world.
Oh, wow.
So in the nation, we ship all of our stuff out of there going different places. This area, the petrochemical complex, produces 85% of the military's jet fuel. So
wow.
if these production plants have to shut down for anything, it is a direct hit to our national defense.
Right.
So we have to just be cognizant of those things as we're thinking about these projects.
I think people lose sight of the just a significant impact beyond what we see daily, right? Like, and then how everything works in concert. I mean, we're talking about the ship channel, the water that could flow through that could disrupt our roads, that could disrupt the plants, that could disrupt the ability for oil and gas to get and create oil that could then get to our jets, that could then protect our country.
Correct.
Like
That's it.
right. That's significant, right? So yeah, and it's
Just a
just
7-layer dip, man, of this industry.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Chad says,
Gotta
there's
love it.
7x ripple effects.
Yeah.
You know, there always
Yes.
is. Like for every job created in the petrochem industry, it ripples out. Same thing the other way around, right? So any kind of impact, up, down, all around, can make a significant impact, and the ripple can become a wave. So
Yes.
So Amy, before we shift gears a little bit about your military time, and but just so people can kind of visualize, like, okay, this is what happens when it comes to infrastructure roads. Can you maybe like share with us a recent project that everybody had to come together on, you know, in the last couple of years that maybe I'm driving and I go, oh, now I get it, right?
Right.
So like bring this to like a visual perspective for me.
Right.
So what's an
So
example of where you're
a couple of
actively
projects that Baytran were actively involved in, NASA Road 1,
Okay.
that bypass right there.
Right.
So we advocated for that project to get that built. So
Nice.
how do you do that? You have to work with your community leaders and make sure that their constituents are okay with this project being built in their backyards and what it's going to mean for the change of the landscape and economic development. As soon as you build a road, people are like, whoa.
Right.
Let's put a new store there. Let's put this
Right.
there. Let's, do
put
this.
16 Starbucks. there.
Yeah, yeah, of course, because we need our Starbucks to keep
100%.
going. But so that kind of happens, and then you get those people together, and then you take them to a Texas Transportation Commission meeting. That's what we did last year, last August. We had the mayor of League City and the mayor of Alvin at the time led this effort with Baytran, and we took about 15 people up to the Texas Transportation Commission meeting when they were authorizing the UTP for 2023, and we told them how important Grand Parkway would be to this region and how much we need this project for hurricane evacuation and other needs, economic development, growth. I mean, so many people are moving to Texas, right? Our regions are exploding, so we need better ways to move people around. And this year, in the 2024 Unified Transportation Program that the Texas Department of Transportation approved this year, is a picture of segments A, B, and C of the Grand Parkway. So it wasn't just included in there, like they highlighted it. It was, and so segment B1 is in a design bid build right now, and literally will be turned in dirt by 2026.
Wow, that's exciting.
So that's how a transportation project happens. It can also happen the other way too. If you don't want it, that's how it goes both ways.
Yep.
Nice. And you play a role in all that.
Yes,
Well, thank
yes,
you.
exactly.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So speaking of your role and you've taken on a lot of stuff, let's backtrack then. So you tell us about your time in the military and how that kind of parlayed from a skill set perspective, the things that you learned, the fundamentals that you picked up along the way that maybe you see yourself using in today's environment.
Yeah. I can look back on everything that I've done in my life and say that I use it daily at Baytran.
Nice.
It's really cool the way that God has kind of led my path. But I was 22 years old living in Stoughton, Wisconsin. manage a Speedway convenience store, and just wanted to go to college, knew there was something different for me, but didn't really know how to get there. And my little sister enlisted in the United States Army. And I was like, whoa, I can't let my little sister go do that without me doing it first. Make sure she's going to be okay.
I love it.
That was my thought at the time. And so I did. With my mom's coercion and my sister as well, I signed my name, and actually left before she did. She was still in high school, so she still had to finish
Right.
Oh, wow.
and graduate. So I left January of 1997, the day after the Green Bay Packers won the Super Bowl, from MEPS in Milwaukee, and flew to South Carolina and started basic training. I tell you what a shock. And then I did basic at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. I don't know if you remember the movie Renaissance Man, but
Oh, yeah.
Danny DeVito conquered the Victory Tower at Fort Jackson, South Carolina in that movie, and I got to conquer it in basic training as well.
Nice.
So that was really cool. And then I did my training for my job. I chose to be a 92 Alpha, which is an automated logistical specialist. So that is a very high demand job these days with the supply chain. And I got my training at the Quartermaster Corps at Fort Lee, Virginia.
Wow.
So that was 9 weeks of school, learning how to do acquisition parts, return parts, do everything manually on paper and with the computer system that the Army was transitioning to use of computers, and networking and all that stuff was becoming a big thing in
Right.
the early 2000s. So I had some amazing chief warrant officers at my time in Bosnia. My first duty station, I got stationed with the Supply and Transportation Troop, Regimental Support Squadron, 2nd Armored Cavalry Regiment out of Fort Polk, Louisiana. So I arrived there in July of 1997. My squad leader picked me up from the in-processing center and took me to my room, and my boxes that were shipped from home with all my my goods, my things, my clothes, my personal belongings were sitting in the middle of the room, still sealed. They have these stickers of seal on them so that nobody's looked at your stuff before you get it. And he said, "Oh, good. Those are sealed already. Don't open those." And I said, "What do you mean? That's my stuff." He said, "You're not going to need it. We're leaving for Bosnia in 2 weeks."
Oh, there you have it.
And instantly, my military service became very real.
Yeah.
And my first thought, I'll never forget, was like, I didn't sign up for that. And then I was like, yeah, you did.
Oh,
so,
my gosh.
So here I am, 23 years old now. I had my birthday at Fort Lee, Virginia, and standing in this room with this E6 and just like really realizing how real this is.
Yeah.
So it took us a while. We actually didn't get into Bosnia until September of 97. We did leave Fort Polk at the beginning in July.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I think it was August. Our first attempt to get into country, we had a convoy.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a convoy. We left the base camp in Hungary and had to drive all the way through Croatia and Bosnia, through Sarajevo, across this really sketchy bridge that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers was on site as each vehicle crossed it
Oh, wow.
to ensure its safety.
Oh, God.
Yeah, we literally did months of training on how to cross this bridge before we even left the United States, because it had been damaged so much in the war that
Sure.
it was just literally hanging on by a thread. And so that was the first, and then before
Welcome
you
to the
cross that bridge is when you drive through Sarajevo and kind of the area that was hit very heavily with artillery. And 23 years old, I'm thinking of my life, mad at my mom because I didn't get a Cabbage Patch Kid and all this stuff. And here I am in this military vehicle with all this stuff and a weapon, and I'm driving through these neighborhoods of homes that are blasted away.
Right.
Half of it's gone. There's people in their front yards looking, at their homes. I have a photo of a young boy. He probably was 3 or 4 years old, standing in his front yard with his little winter clothes on. And his parents were mortaring the house back together. And so it just really, you just really have this, my instant thought was Americans we're just so spoiled.
Right.
Just so spoiled. Just have no idea what these third world countries are dealing with. It was a very sombering moment for me and just made me realize what we were there to do, which was rebuild the country. So we were the first group called in to be the stabilization force for NATO. And what that meant is getting the base camps to a place where you could receive supplies to then distribute to the rest of the area. We built a container yard. We had a whole Bayport terminal. We had a container terminal on our base camp.
Nice.
That the PLSs would bring these containers in off of wherever they came from. Sometimes they were brought via Chinook, a helicopter.
Right.
So, and that's all the supplies that our units at these forward operating base camps in Bosnia needed to sustain themselves to do their missions.
Right.
And we supplied all of that. That was our job. We were the regimental supply squadron for the 2nd Armored Cavalry Regiment, which was doing the mission in Bosnia. So all the supplies came through our warehouse, and then we sent them out with our truck drivers, our transportation platoon. They ran the routes every day. I worked 3rd shift in the warehouse. We'd pack all the shipping department, would get everything packed, loaded on the vehicles. Convoy would be staged. In the morning, they'd roll out. They'd come back in the afternoon and start all over again. And we did this every single day, 24/7 for 10 months. And so when I was researching some background on that stabilization force rotation, I happened to stumble across a paper that my Lieutenant Colonel Willie C. Jordan, was the commander of the Regimental Support Squadron at that time. He actually wrote a paper kind of recapping that operation, and I had no idea. At the time, this 23, 24-year-old kid working in a warehouse, just doing whatever, third shift, the impact that we had and what we were actually a part of over there.
Yeah.
So it's just so cool. We established those transportation routes. That's what we did. We decided what routes were safe to get to those other base camps and then made them that way and convoyed daily to get them their supplies. So
I
just
think
really
that
cool stuff.
It's amazing how you mentioned that what God would do with that. He would put you at a 23-year-old establishing transportation routes. In this country, and then fast forward.
Yeah.
And here you are
I was
leading a
thinking the exact
transportation
same thing.
organization and establishing transportation routes in our it's just he's interesting.
He is.
I love what he does and how he does it. It's unbelievable. So I don't want to cut you off there, but I also don't want to run out of time before we get to some important things that you've got going on and different stuff like that. Zeke, why don't you take a couple of these?
Yeah, I was going to say what's if we're transitioning back to Baytrain, because I was going to say the same thing, Jason. Great point. Is just hearing you tell a story. It's like, well, no wonder you do this job. Duh, makes total sense to me. But regarding Baytrain, recent, you told us a little bit about the advocacy, some legislation you've been lobbying for.
Mm-hmm.
What are any big milestones, big events that have just happened or upcoming that you want to share? Yeah.
So this year we kind of. It actually kind of stemmed from our board retreat last fall. I talked about the billions of dollars that this Coastal Texas program is going to be, and the amount of engineers that are going to be needed to construct or to design this thing, and the consultants and all the environmental work and all of that. It is going to have there's going to be a big workforce need in that industry, and that's just part of it. The transportation piece, the 2045 Unified Transportation Program had $10 more million this year than it did the year before.
Wow.
So, there's a lot of money out there that we're trying to spend to put good projects in our region, but we're going to need a workforce to do that. So we formed a committee called CREW. We're the Committee for the Recruitment of an Engineering Workforce. Let's see, I kind of already said all that, made notes for myself.
Yeah.
But the committee's been meeting since May this year and is comprised of representatives from Dickinson ISD, Clear Creek ISD, Pasadena ISD, San Jacinto College, and University of Houston Clear Lake.
So you got Zeke number 1 then.
Yes, I do. He's awesome.
We're on a committee together. They always say Zeke number 1 or Zeke number 2.
Oh.
He's OG.
Yeah,
he's been on the
first
committee for yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So our mission is to create a pipeline that prepares students to enter the engineering workforce, and our vision is a comprehensive approach that prepares students for regional engineering workforce opportunities. And kind of what we've landed on this year is turning the Skills USA competition that will be hosted at Clear Creek ISD's Robotics Center on February 1st into a day event. So we want to bring in industry to have tables there to talk about what their business does. We can even set up a little spot that day where they could do one-on-one interviews with possible interns, and just really the parents will be there supporting the students. That's where you generate that interest. Engineering is a huge field that has a lot of different pathways. You can go civil, you can go, all the environmental sciences, all that stuff. We need those good people, and we're learning that we're losing them in that intermediate age.
Right.
So we need to touch them sooner. We need to start educating them about the different pathways in elementary school. So starting to get out there in the world and bringing all of this together to help generate that workforce.
Awesome.
I love it.
Awesome. And,
Is what we
workforce
need.
development, critical anchor for our organization, anchor for our show.
Our
Yes.
For the region, right? Like what we're trying
You've got
to
the right
do.
people. I mean, obviously, Dr. Janes is, the queen mother of this effort, and Zeke's awesome as well. So, Zeke Garcia. I don't speak in third person on the show. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. That'd be weird.
Well, look, we got to get close to wrapping up. Amy, before we get off the show, is there anything that you want to recognize or any special things that you want to make sure you highlight before we
Yes.
get off the show?
Yes. So, this show was about veterans. So I just want to really encourage you guys to remember that there are tons of successful veteran business owners in this region, and you need to support them. We're not all homeless and addicted to drugs and that sad veteran that's on TV asking for your money to support us. We are strong, very well-trained business people.
Amen.
There's a new organization called the Houston Veterans Chamber of Commerce, and they're working with Harris County and the City of Houston to accept the SBA's designation of the Veteran Small-Owned Business and Service Disabled Veteran Small-Owned Business as a historically underutilized business, rather than making them go through another hoop to get another certification to even do business
Love
with
it.
them. So support our veterans and all of us.
Awesome. So in our last episode, we talked a lot about being an employer and going out and hiring veterans. We also did bring up the support of veteran business owners. But hey, call to action this week. If you're going to hire somebody and you're going to get somebody to do the job, reach out, look up a veteran. Let's hire a veteran and help them do it. We got some great organizations. I was actually just talking to Chad. Troop Industrial is becoming a member of ours this week, which we're excited about. They're a huge veteran organization. Brian's the owner of that group, but man, love that guy. Excited to have more organizations joining our group that are veteran owned and operated. So Amy, loved hearing your story. I got emotional at that moment when you were describing that child, and it just, then even thinking about getting to know you and where your heart's at, I can see it, right? I can see just your heart for love and service is transcended into what you're doing today, and you bring great value to our region. So we're thankful for you, thankful for your service.
Thank you, Amy.
To all the veterans,
Thank you so
listening,
much for letting me do this and having me here.
Absolutely. So to all the veterans that are listening, tuned in today, we want to thank you for your service. If you know a veteran, and just make sure you reach out to them this week, tell them you love them.
Yeah.
Tell them that you're grateful
Happy
for them.
Veterans Day.
Happy
but
Veterans Day.
Let's not just say it on the day, you know?
Yes,
Yes,
show it every day.
week, right?
Yeah.
Every day is a day
That's right.
to think of veterans. So, and then if you want to reach out to Amy and better understand how she does her job, what she does, Amy, what's the best way to contact you?
So our website is baytran.org,
Yep.
baytran.org, and my contact information is on the contact page.
Fantastic. Easy way to get a hold of her.
That's
if you want to
easy.
reach out to Zeke and myself, you can just contact us via LinkedIn. Give us your feedback. Tell us about any guests, any thoughts that you have for the show. We'd love to hear from you. And then if you want to stay tuned in to this show on a more regular basis, you can subscribe. It'll come straight to your phone. All you have to do is go to the Economic Alliance Houston Port Region's website. In that website, there's a media tab. You can go in. You can subscribe anytime you want. Stay up to speed on all the great guests that we have, just like Amy, and we'll keep you plugged in every week. So
That's
again, thanks for tuning in this week. Thanks to our veterans, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in, and be sure to go to the Economic Alliance Houston Port Region website, subscribe to our channels. Let's pay it forward by sharing the good news of what's happening in our region by passing this episode to somebody you know.